Welcome everyone. I'm Jan Holland, and today I'm going to talk to Louisa Sanghera, a mortgage broker, and she's going to tell us how we can get into property after divorce. And welcome, Louisa.
Hi, Jan.
So I'm going to read out a little bit of bio, and then we'll get stuck into it. So Louisa is a well-known and well-loved businesswoman around Sydney, affectionately known as the Mum's Champion, and is recognised by everyone who knows her as a hard-working, dedicated and visionary leader. Her work with Zippy Financial and being an active supporter of the wider business community earned her the title of Outstanding Business Person of the Year at the 2017 Local Business Awards. Since then, Louisa and Zippy Financial have gone on to win many awards. New South Wales Broker of the Year 2021 and 2022, Best Independent Office of the Year 2022, Residential Finance Broker of the Year 2022, Australian Broker of the Year 2019, 2021 and 2022, and Best Customer Service Australia 2019, 2020 and 2021. And Investor Property Magazine voted Zippy the best brokerage in Australia. So Louisa, with those credentials, I'm sure you've got amazing knowledge to share with us.
Sound quite good, don't I, when you read all that? I must be doing something right.
That sounds amazing. So Louisa, I thought a mortgage broker just crunched the numbers, but after having a conversation with you, I know it's so much more than that. So would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, I know. There's mortgage brokers and there's finance brokers, and I class myself as a finance broker. So I do a lot more than mortgages. We do anything finance, commercial and cars and all sorts of things. So we're finance brokers. But a good broker is somebody that doesn't just crunch the numbers. Any broker can do that, but I like to think a good broker really gets to know the client. So when we meet people, myself and the team, we listen to the story, because you've got to know the background and people's circumstances, what's happened, and then understand where they want to go. So it's really getting to know people and know where they've come from, what they've been through, and where they want to go. And in your space, Jan, obviously, people going through divorce or women going through divorce, it's crucial that we do listen to them and understand, what they've been through and where they're going. I always say I've been through more divorces than anybody. I've done thousands of divorces now in my 30 years in finance. And I always think, I'm never going to be surprised, but then you hear another story and you are surprised. And it's going through divorce in particular is a very, some people are relieved, but generally people, even though they're relieved to perhaps get out of an unhappy marriage, people are going through trauma and stress and anxiety. It's a very difficult time for women. And we see women coming out of abuse, physical abuse, financial abuse, all sorts of things. And as soon as somebody calls up and says they're getting divorced, I know what to say and what not to say, and how to try and help that person from speaking to me openly, because it's difficult sometimes to open up, and it's difficult to tell people your whole life. But if they want us to sort of understand and help and hold their hand and guide them, it's important that we know the story, and that takes time. And so not all brokers do have the time, to be honest, to do divorces. But I am in the female space, I'm in the mummy space. In my industry, I've been a big advocate for women. My whole business we're a bunch of women, all mums, spread across 3 states and 3 countries. So we get this, and half the team have been divorced. So we know it's a difficult time. We're not just going to crunch the numbers for them. we're gonna be their friend, their financial partner, to work with them to achieve what they need to achieve. And sometimes that takes years, Jan. It's not
Yeah.
like a quick look of numbers. Sometimes we look at things and they'll go, "Oh, it's impossible." And I always say, nothing's impossible.
Mm.
Nothing's impossible. We'll find a way to do something.
Yes.
We might just need to change things, tweak things, work at things. We need to get a plan together. Let's get a plan and we'll work and stick to the plan. And then we'll just regularly check in with each other. And it isn't making people accountable, but it's just good to, some people say, "Oh, I need to be accountable on my spending," and we will do that.
Yeah.
But it's just checking in and making sure that we're sticking to the plan to achieve what we need to achieve to get them back into a house. Because a lot of the time, women, especially in the area I live, they're living in nice homes, and when the husband leaves or they leave, they can't get back into a house straight away, not in the area they want to live in. And
Yes.
it might be that they have to rent and we have to buy them an investment property to build the wealth. There's different things we can do,
Yes.
but it's not crunching numbers. It's being a part of that person's team and life to help them achieve the financial goals. And we bring other people in to help them as well, like financial planners,
Mhm.
like an estate planner, to make sure that the will's set up right so
Yeah.
that the children can benefit, not the ex-husband. So, I always say to the ladies, get yourself a good team of people,
Mhm.
be honest and open, let's work together, and we can achieve something, if not what the dream home, but we can achieve something to get them back in property. Because women generally, they want a home for their kids.
Yes.
It's not about them, it's about having a home for their kids.
Yes.
And they don't care whether that's an apartment or a house, but they just want something to make their own home, put pictures up and make it comfortable. So yeah, it's not just crunching numbers. Certainly not in my business anyway. We're not about that.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And when is the best time to talk to a mortgage broker?
Going through divorce,
Yes. Like if
I
you
would
know you're about to get divorced or,
yeah,
someone has
as,
left.
I always say it's best to come to us as soon as you go and see that lawyer.
Mhm.
Some women, do come to us straight away,
Mhm.
and I love that because while they're speaking to the lawyer, they can say to the lawyer, "I've spoke to a broker, those numbers aren't going to work for me.
Mm.
I need to get XXX to achieve a house."
Mm.
Excuse me. Um, and sometimes we find that the men want to screw the women over, to be blunt.
Mm.
All of a sudden their income drops from a big figure to a small figure. But some men actually, when the women go back to them, or the divorce people go back, lawyers go back to the men, they'll say, "Hey, I didn't realize that I couldn't achieve a property based on my income." And so the men will perhaps give them a little bit more
Mm.
or help them get into that home. So, it's important to look at it at that stage. I
Mm.
think when women come to us and they've gone through the divorce and they've done the settlement, they've got the money, then they come to us and we go, you can't afford anything. It's too late. So
Mm.
yeah, I have say as soon as you go and see the divorce lawyer, come and see us as well. Let us look at your financials. They can share that with the lawyer, and we can all work together as a team to try and get the best outcome for them.
Oh, that's good. I think one of the hardest things to do when you're going through a divorce is you're so emotionally overwhelmed that you don't think very clearly. And oftentimes it's very difficult to look the truth in the face and actually, be very conscious of what finances you do or don't have or what's going to happen or not. And so, yes, it's very good advice. Thank you. And if you were looking for a mortgage broker, what sort of questions would you ask so that you knew you were getting the best help for your needs?
I think for depending on how much time you need, or some people will need a step by step, real hand holding,
Mhm.
help and guidance. So that's going to take a lot of time. And I think, especially if you're somebody that doesn't understand, you know, sometimes women don't understand finance at all. They've never been involved in the budget. They don't understand anything. So they need to be educated and guided more. So I think they need to be asking, first of all, you know, have you got time to take me on? Because some brokers, you know, just want the deals in and out, in and out, in and out. It's about making money.
Yes.
So they need to find the right broker that's got time to work with them. So I think ask that up front. I'm a divorcee, you know, I'm going to need a lot of hand holding. Have you got time to take me on? Because I
Yes.
need the right broker to have conversations with me and to guide me.
Yes. And
And it
not to
doesn't
be
mean
afraid.
yeah, and it
Yeah.
doesn't need to be the broker, it's having a team, because I don't do all the conversations. I do the main conversations, but I've got a whole team of women that can speak to clients throughout the process, you
Right.
know. So ask if they've got time, but you also need to be asking the usual questions that anybody would be asking, you know. How many lenders have you got on panel? A lot of the franchises only have 17, 18 lenders. People don't realize that. They've got the brand, but actually they've not got the lenders behind them. And some of those franchises now only have their own products.
Right.
So, and people don't realize, so they're always best to go to an independent broker, somebody that's got, you know, a really large panel of lenders, like 40, 45 lenders,
Wow.
so that
Okay.
they really are looking at the market for them to choose
Yes.
the best products for them. So ask that. Ask, how long have you been a mortgage broker? If
Yes.
it's something that's only been a mortgage broker for 6 to 12 months, they might not be the right one for you because they might not have got the experience to actually help you. You know, say I've been in this 30 odd years now, and I say, you know, I've seen most things, and when you've done something for a long time, you get quite good at it. Um, so ask what experience they've got, ask if they've got time, ask if they've got the lender, how many lenders they've got, and just have a chat to them and see if you feel that you can communicate, because communication is key through these things.
Yeah.
So, you know, can you communicate? Do you feel comfortable with them? And yeah, you know, perhaps speak to a couple and then just choose one. You don't need to work with two or three, but you only need to work with one. But you can go and speak to a couple. There's no point in two brokers both doing all the work.
Yes.
But you just have a talk to a couple and feel comfortable with that person, I think.
That's great. The interesting thing is I would never have considered myself how many lenders does a mortgage broker have behind them. It's just not something I've considered.
I
So that's a
know.
great question.
I know. People are always shocked when I mention that, because they'll have come from, you know, Rams or Aussie or wherever, and I'll go, but it's only their own products, or they only have 17 banks, you know, and they'll go, oh, I didn't realise. I'll say, yeah, they wouldn't have had that bank as an option because they haven't got it. So yeah, it's I love to educate and share everything with everybody.
That's great.
Spread the word.
So what happens when someone can't afford to buy a house or property that they want? What should they do?
Yeah, and look, this does happen a lot with divorce, women going through divorce, that perhaps they can't afford something straight away. So we can work through it and say, look, if you go, rather than part-time, if you can go full-time, if you can earn X amount of money, then you could afford that property. Or we say, if you can cut your living expenses down from, you know, 7,000 to 5,000, then you can afford that property. If you close that credit card, if you pay out your HEX debt, we'll guide them and tell them what to do to achieve what they want to achieve.
Right.
If they're running on bare minimum and there's nowhere to go, and that's where they are, you know, it might be that they can't afford the dream home, but perhaps we can get them, you know, a small investment property somewhere in a good area. It might be Queensland or Melbourne or wherever, to get them in the market so that they can start to build their equity up, because that will grow the wealth. And it, you know, it might be, say if they're living on the Northern Beaches and they can't afford a $3 million property to get into the market, you know, they'll be happy living there because the family are there and the friends are there. So just rent. It's called rent vesting. You can rent there for the rest of your life, but you can still build property up behind you in the background.
Yes.
And it might not be that you could do it, you know, as an individual. You might need to buy that perhaps through your superannuation, even, you know, through SMSF. You might have got a good payout on super from your husband. there's different ways of looking at it. And I say, if we can't put a short-term plan in for you to achieve something, it might be a 10-year plan or something as well. But
Yes.
it's just, you've got to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're never going to achieve where you want to
Yes.
be.
And start from now, like just don't leave it. Have something to aim for now, and then things will happen gradually.
Yeah, that's it. And I say we can just check in all the time. Whenever you want to come, people want to come back to us, they can just come back and say, hey, this has happened. I've got this pay rise. What difference does it make? You know, because as well as things changing for the individual, things change in our space as well. So
Yeah.
right now, because interest rates have been rising significantly, people can't borrow what they could borrow a year ago.
Yes.
I had somebody yesterday came to me that they borrowing capacity has dropped from 900,000 to 600,000 since Christmas.
Wow.
So, you know, but things change by the end of the year. Hopefully rates will be dropping again, you know, so people will be able to afford more. So next year might be a better year that they can afford something rather than this
Yeah.
year. Um, you know, so things change in our space as well. So it's always good to check in to see where we're at as a
Yeah.
team.
And would you say it's good not to be too disheartened when you can't achieve what you want to achieve immediately? Just look at the longer goal and think, okay, I can't do it now, but
Yeah,
let's focus on getting this done in the future.
yeah, absolutely. I had one lady, oh, it must be 5 years now, went through a quite a nasty divorce actually. And she was left devastated and she couldn't afford a house and she's got high autistic child and she just needed to be there for him. She couldn't work full time, even though the husband was saying, well, you need to go and get a job and you need to work, you know.
Mm.
She couldn't. She needed to be there for that child. So she's just had to, we just downsized her. She was paying way too much rent for the big house. She's moved into something smaller. We've got her in something that's a reasonable rent. We've set up the savings so that she was just putting away a little bit each month. But she's now been able to go back to work full time. She's managed to get some deposit behind her and she's going to get into a house this year,
Oh,
hopefully, fingers
fantastic.
crossed.
Right.
So that was a 5 year plan, you
Yeah.
know. So yeah, there's usually something. I always say, don't be disheartened. There's usually a way. You know,
Yes.
there's usually a way. But we also have to do discussions like, well, you know, why are you driving around in a $50,000 car? Could you
Mm.
not drive around in a $20,000 car and not have that finance behind you? It's,
Yeah.
you know, so sometimes people just have to prioritize what's important to them because
Yeah.
perhaps you can't have everything. But if you want the home, you have to perhaps sacrifice the car. Perhaps you have to sacrifice holidays, you
Yes.
know. So, but there's usually a way around it.
Fantastic. And just have a plan and have good communication with someone that you know is very knowledgeable.
Yeah, I say it's having a team, you know, they might need a really good financial planner to work with
Hmm.
rather than a broker.
Hmm.
Or they could, you know, work with both. If they're self-employed, they'll need to have a good accountant. If they're going to go into investment properties, they need, you know, a good buyer's agent to work with to make sure that they find them the most suitable property that is going to make them money. Because an investment property is a very different property to an owner occupied if
Yes.
you want to make money.
Yes.
So it's a team of people, just like, you know, you're part of the team. You're going to help them through that divorce and help them with the blows and give them the advice. And so it's building the right people around you and feeling comfortable with everybody.
Thank you. And what would be your last piece of advice to give to somebody, like, you know, what are the gems that you've learned along the way?
Oh gosh, there's so many things I've learned along the way. I think get a good lawyer
Hmm.
because I've seen some shockers in my time.
Hmm.
So really, and again, some lawyers don't have time for the women. They don't want to listen. They don't want to know the story. They don't know the hands. So get a good lawyer.
Hmm.
Divorce coaches, you know, they weren't a thing 20 years ago,
Hmm.
but like they are so beneficial. So I think get yourself a good divorce coach to help you through that.
Hmm.
Or you know, some people might need, you know, more psychiatrists if they're really
Yes.
really struggling, or psychologists. But Get yourself somebody to talk to. I think sometimes it's good to talk to somebody out of your family and friends.
Mhm.
Um, it's just easier to be open and honest, and as much as your friends and family love you, it's sometimes good for them to not be so involved or hear everything. So I think it's
Yeah.
good to have that separate person. I've really seen benefits of that over, the years.
Right.
And then get yourself a good, financial planner, broker. Think about, your estate planning. You want get yourself a willing place to protect yourself. I think it's about protecting yourself and your assets. And if you've got children, make sure that you're set up
Mhm.
to make sure that your children benefit. And that might be speaking to your accountant about perhaps putting trusts in place and things like that. But I think if you go to one good person within that team, they'll give you the advice for everybody else that needed in the
Yes.
team anyway. Um, so yeah, look, I know it's an emotional time for people, and I know it's very stressful. I totally get it. So I've been through so many divorces, and I've been through some really nasty ones. I really, honestly, I
Mm.
have. So the team is the thing for me.
Yes. Great. I think that's great advice. Thank you. And Louisa, if people want to find out more about you, where do they do that?
Oh, they can look my business up online, zippyfinancial.com.au. Yeah, we're always here for a chat.
Mhm.
Just to give some free advice up front. They don't have to engage us at that time, but we're always here for a chat and to just if they want names of other people to speak to. And then when they're ready, we're there to help with the financial side of things and cash. We do the cash flow budgeting and things as well. So always happy to help.
That's great. Thank you so much. And there was wonderful advice in there. So thanks again.
You're welcome. Thanks, Jan.
Okay, bye bye.